Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho back again. So, in the last video, we looked at Horus Lupercal's reaction to finding the second Primarch, Leman Russ. Now, we're going to move on to their first meeting. The first time two brother Primarchs met. Horus Lupercal meets his brother, Leman Russ. So, spoiler warning to begin, the events we are looking at takes place in the Horus Heresy novel Wolfsbane. It's an absolutely fantastic read, one of, if not the best, Horus Heresy novel I have read thus far. So I truly recommend you go check it out for yourself first, particularly the audiobook version if you can, as that was awesome. It was a really great listen, and the voice acting for Russ in particular really helps you see the man behind the myth. But without further ado, let's get cracking straight away. The Primarchs met alone in a stateroom. The Savage King's escort were not happy at being separated from their lord, and it had taken some time to accomplish. The new Primarch seemed less primitive without his clansmen. His clothes were the same, of course, and although his men were away from his side, his wolves were not. But his bearing was different now that he was unobserved by his warriors. So much so that his garb seemed like an elaborate costume from a masquerade. He was standing facing the door when Horus arrived. This highlights what is hinted at in the books about Russ a lot. How he is so much more than the savage he portrays. That's almost some kind of mask that he hides behind. And it does make sense. He is a Primarch. He doesn't have the butcher's nails in his brain like Angron. He was just raised upon a savage world, but he has used that experience to learn and to grow. He's a savage when he needs to be, but any of his brothers who make the mistake of thinking that is all he is are in for a real surprise. He uses it like a mask. There's more to Russ than meets the eye, and if you are created to kill the other Primarchs, should the need arise, of course, to be the Emperor's executioner, then you need to have like a warrior's intelligence and cunning to match. And I think that mask is clearly what Russ kind of exhibits and portrays. It's really good that Russ has got more depth than he always had previously in the lore of just some savage warrior. There's a lot more behind Russ than we always took for granted before. Anyway, let's carry on. Ice blue eyes locked with brown. Horus stood in the doorway a fraction of a second too long to convey complete confidence. He looked at the Wolf King, and the Wolf King looked at him. Horus's brother broke the impasse. "So, you're the first, eh?" The Lord of Fenris had a guttural accent that invested his Gothic with ridiculous snarls and growls, like the beast attempting speech. "Our father?" He said the word questioningly, as he was new to the concept. "He told me about you and all the rest of mine kin. He said we would be friending." "What again was your name?" He smiled. He obviously knew the answer. Such an obvious probe annoyed Horus. Horus put aside his petty feelings. There was more to this man than met the eye. He could be an asset to the Great Crusade if he could be properly tamed. Horus made himself see it and accept it. "I am Horus, Primarch of the 16th Legion, the Lunar Wolves. Who are you?" "You are Wolf," said the warrior, lips peeled back from sharp teeth. "We are both Wolf. I am named Leman, the King of the Russ." Russ slapped his chest as if the title were noteworthy. "But I am more than this, think I?" He became thoughtful. "I have always knowed. I is not of Fenris." "Known," said Horus. "Yah," said the warrior king. "Sorry, I learned your language only 5 days ago." Horus raised an eyebrow at that. It was an impressive feat. "You know of the Great Crusade," said Horus. "I do know of this war. The Emperor," he said again, slightly questioningly, "he has told me what I am and what I am made for." "Do you agree with his aims?" said Horus. "An empire in the stars? Who could not agree with that?" said Leman of the Russ. "If I did not, I would come for the adventure. No one in the Russ make war in the upland. But I have no choice. It is written in my weird. Horus's face showed an unspoken question. Russ searched for an appropriate translation. My fate. Though it is more than that. We do not believe in fate. This is the imperial truth? This the Emperor also says on our trip here. An interesting idea, he said, as if he had not evaluated and rejected the concept. The imperial truth, he repeated. You do not believe it, said Horus. Leman of the Russ shrugged. When gods come from the sky and tell you there are no gods, it takes little time to see what is true and what is not. And what do you think is true? I think a believer who ceases to believe when the truth of his world confirms those beliefs is a fool, he said simply. It doesn't matter what gods say. If we don't pay much attention to them, they are as drunk and stupid as we, he grinned. The warrior knew exactly what Horus thought of him. Do not underestimate him, the words came back to Lupercal. That will change, said Horus. You will see that the imperial truth is correct. The Emperor is a man, a great man, but he is a man. He is not a god. Russ shrugged again. My people already call him the All-Father. They believe him the king of our gods. My warriors out there believe they are in the Oververse, in Upland. Where? The afterlife, said Russ with a feral glee, daring Horus to guess whether he believes this himself or not. There is no afterlife, said Horus. This place is as real as your world. I am glad to meet you, Leman, king of the Russ. We shall grow to be great comrades, I am sure. He held out his hand. Russ grinned more widely. The meeting amused him. That annoyed Horus. He wanted this backwards chieftain to show him more respect, but Horus had always hidden his feelings well. Russ grasped his hand hard. There was an amazing strength in the grip. Interesting here that Horus expects more respect, almost showing like he feels entitled to it, like he's above his brother. In reality, why should Russ show him more respect? He doesn't know Horus. He's literally just been taken away from his planet. He's only just met the Emperor. All he knows is they are supposed to be brothers. You wouldn't bow before your brother the first time you meet them. But still, Horus can't help but feel above him, this savage in front of him. All these little pieces that add up to the full puzzle of the heresy in my mind, like little minute fractures before a shattering. I really like these little glimpses we get inside of Horus's personality. It's eye-opening, to say the least, when you get all these little clues where you start thinking, where it's leading to. They're like little hints of little personality traits where you can see that, yeah, I can see he does believe himself above his brothers, and why wouldn't he believe he should be emperor? But anyway, let's carry on. We shall be brothers, said the Wolf King. I am sure you have much to discuss with our father. I shall see you soon. Horus dipped his head and was about to walk out the door when the Savage King called out, Hey, Horus of the Lunar Wolves. On my world, it is common for brothers to fight. Do you think, my brother, that we might fight? I will spar with you, if that is what you wish, said Horus. No, fight, said the King of the Russ. He mimed a bizarre wrestler's crouch, his hands clawed and teeth bared. Who would win, eh? We are brothers. We will not fight. Ah, go on, said Russ. Think about it. His bluff manner was already trying Horus's patience, so soon into their relationship. If we fought, who would win? Horus smiled coldly at his foundling brother. I would. Leman of the Russ smiled and nodded thoughtfully. Perhaps you would, he said. Perhaps one day we shall see. Well, that's the end of their first interaction. And what do you think of that? I like the ending there, like a little foreshadowing of what's to come. It was a really good way to begin the Wolfsbane novel. Did Russ always know he was to be the Emperor's executioner, do you think? Did the Emperor tell him his role upon their first meeting? I don't think so. I don't think the Emperor sat him down in their first meeting and explained much more than, who he was, where he came from, what the Imperium is and what the Great Crusade is all about. We're not told the length of time that the Emperor was with him before they got to Horus. I don't think he told Russ he was designed to be his executioner straight away, or if ever he did, in fact. I think he would have merely told Russ that there are 20 of you, my Primarchs, and you are to be my generals. You are the second one I have found. I think the executioner part of Russ is embedded inside his makeup, his very DNA. He can't help but ponder how he would fight Horus, who would win. It's in his very nature. Now, do I think he wants to fight all of his brothers because of that? No, not in a lethal sense. I believe Russ hates to perform his executioner role. As we've seen him regret heavily what he had to do with Magnus, especially when he found out as well that he was tricked to perform it. That weighs on his mind a lot. However, do I believe he would like to fight his brothers in a non-lethal fight? Yeah, of course. They are bred to be warriors, and the brothers only have each other to test themselves against. They're all weapons at the end of the day. So yeah, of course they all want to test themselves against each other, and Russ more than most, no doubt, because he is bred to be at least one of the more advanced warriors, if you like. There's not as much statesman in Russ, like Guilliman, for example. Russ is a warrior to the core. And then, of course, we see the confidence of Horus. I would win. I suppose it's natural for him to feel that way. He's the first other Primarch he is seeing as Russ, who looks like an untrained savage to him. But confidence can easily become arrogance in many cases. And in Horus's case, it's a hard line to see if he's already crossed it. He may be extremely confident, but he's also coming across as pretty arrogant in their first conversation. And when you go forward and you watch his other conversations with his other fellow brothers, it's quite a recurring theme with Horus that we see a little arrogance inside his personality. Is the Emperor at fault for that, where he spent so much time with him and trained him up as the first of his sons? Possibly. I sincerely doubt that the appointment of War Master helped. That was almost like the icing on the cake, if you will. But still, that's that for this interaction. What do you guys think? Did you enjoy the interaction between Horus and Russ? How do you think that Horus truly felt upon meeting the first one of his brothers? Do you think it would have gone down better if perhaps he had met another one of his brothers first? Perhaps if he had met Sanguinius first, or the Lion, the Khan, Magnus? That'd be quite interesting. It's a shame we don't ever get to see, how their first interaction would be in a what-if scenario. But I think Horus may have always been a little arrogant, but quite so arrogant if he had come against Sanguinius the first time. Now that would have been truly interesting. Truly interesting indeed. And what about Russ? How do you think that Russ was in this first interaction? Do you think that he wanted to test himself against Horus because of the executioner part? Or like me, do you think it's more just part of his DNA, He didn't want to test him in a lethal sense. He doesn't truly know he has an official role as an executioner. It's just part of his makeup. But as always, I hope you've enjoyed this video, guys. Please leave me a like and a subscribe if you enjoy this content. I enjoy it greatly, bringing the content to you, and every help that you give me building this channel really, really helps. But that's it for today. Hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys again real soon.